Namaste.
Namaste.
Hello and welcome to another episode of our infrastructure podcast series. Today, we explore one of India's most remarkable infrastructure projects currently under construction, the 19.3 kilometers Dhubri Phulbari Bridge across the mighty Brahmaputra River. Once completed, it will become one of the longest river bridges in the country and significantly improve connectivity between Assam and Meghalaya. To help us understand the engineering, planning, financing, and economic significance of this mega project, I am delighted to welcome Dr. Naresh Bana, internationally recognized infrastructure and public private partnership expert. Welcome, Dr. Bana.
Thank you, Deepika ji.
Dr. Bana, to begin with the project's overview, significance, planning, and procurement, let us begin with the basics. What exactly is Dhubri Phulbari Bridge and why is it considered such an important national infrastructure project?
Thank you, Deepika ji. The Dhubri Phulbari Bridge is 19.3 km long, 4-lane, being constructed across the Brahmaputra River on National Highway 127B. It will connect Dhubri in Assam to Phulbari in Meghalaya and is likely to be one of the longest river bridge in India. It is important that we must understand that it's not merely because of its impressive length. It addresses one of the last major connectivity gaps in Indian Northeast over river Brahmaputra. Today, the people traveling from these two cities either take the ferry services, which are often get disrupted during the monsoons, or undertake a road journey which is more than 200 kilometers to come to the other side. So once the bridge is constructed, this distance will reduce dramatically to just about 20-25 kilometers. So the project represents much more than civil engineering. It's about connecting communities, improving access to healthcare, education, reducing transport costs, stimulating economic activity, and strengthening national integration in one of India's most strategically important regions. By the way, do you know this is among the longest river bridges currently under construction in India?
Yes, sir. Many people know it is a long bridge, but what specific transportation problem was the government trying to solve by building it?
You see, the challenge was fundamentally one of geography. The Brahmaputra is among the widest and most dynamic rivers in the world. Although towns such as Dhubri and Phulbari are geographically close, the absence of a permanent crossing forced people and freight to travel over long distances of hundreds, like I said, 200 km plus, or rely on ferries. So this created delays, uncertainty, and imposed higher costs. Farmers found it difficult to transport perishable produce. Students, patients, daily commuters experienced inconvenience, particularly during the rainy season. And from a logistics perspective, every additional kilometer translates into higher fuel consumption, delay, greater vehicle wear and tear. And so when there is a bridge, it's not only simply shortening the travel, it makes transportation more predictable, reliable, and economical. In infrastructure parlance and planning, the reliability is often as valuable as speed, because businesses can then plan supply chains with much greater confidence. And you will be happy to note that this bridge will reduce the journey between Dhubri and Phulbari from nearly 5 hours to less than an hour.
You're right, sir. The bridge reportedly reduces travel distance by almost 200 kilometers. Could you explain how that translates into real benefits for ordinary people and business also?
Sure. You see, infrastructure economists often say that every kilometer saved on a transport corridor generates recurring economic value for decades. In this case, the benefits are substantial. For an individual traveler, the bridge means less time on road and more time for himself, lower fuel costs, and easier access to essential services. For transport operators, it means reduced vehicle operating costs, improved fleet utilization, and faster turnaround times. For business, particularly those dealing with agriculture products, fisheries, or consumer goods, quicker transportation reduces spoilage, wastage, and inventory costs while improving market access. The industry becomes more competitive because logistics become cheaper and more reliable. There are also significant indirect benefits. Better connectivity encourages tourism, attracts investment, increases land values, and stimulates growth of hotels, warehouses, logistics parks, and small businesses. In other words, a bridge creates an entire economic corridor rather than merely connecting two river banks. Lastly, just think about that person who otherwise had spent whole day in traveling from Dhubri to Phulbari and couldn't come back possibly on the same day. Here, they can make 5 trips instead in a day.
I completely agree with you, sir. Apart from improving the transport, does this bridge also have strategic importance for the Northeast and for national integration?
Very important, very nice. You see, it's uh, at a place where India Northeast is connected to rest of India through a relatively narrow corridor. Every new bridge, highway or railway line improves resilience and connectivity by providing assurance. The Dhubri Phulbari Bridge strengthens link between Assam and Meghalaya, enhances access to Western Meghalaya, including Tura, and supports faster movement of people, goods, and essential services. From a strategic perspective purely, the improved road infrastructure also facilitates disaster response, emergency medical assistance, and defense logistics whenever required. Moreover, it complements India's Act East policy by improving internal connectivity, and that can eventually support trade with neighboring countries such as Bangladesh and Bhutan. So while bridge is a transport project on paper, its real contribution lies in strengthening economic integration, social cohesion, and regional development in addition to the strategic importance which it has.
So, talking about the strategic importance that it has, large infrastructure projects usually take years before construction begins. Could you explain how this project was planned and approved?
You are right, projects of this magnitude cannot be conceived overnight. Before construction, the government undertakes a detailed feasibility study to establish the technical, economical, and environmental viability of the project. Traffic projections are prepared to estimate future demand. Engineers conduct extensive geotechnical investigations, modeling of the river banks and the entire flow, and bed conditions, hydrological studies to analyze flood levels, river behavior, and scour potential. Then there are environmental and social impact assessments which have to be undertaken to minimize ecological and social impacts of that. Then once these investigations are in place and the project appears viable and economically justified, it receives the necessary administrative and financial approvals. Only then does the implementing agency, and which happens to be in this case the NHIDCL, that is National Highway Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited, a Government of India company, then they prepare detailed tender documents and invite bids. This systematic approach reduces uncertainty and ensures that public funds are invested in projects capable of delivering long-term national benefits in a very structured and methodical way.
To my understanding, sir, the project was procured through the design build model. Could you briefly explain what this means and why it is often preferred for complex bridge projects?
Very right. You see, wherever there is more uncertainty, you have to bring in such kind of uh, mechanisms. And design build happens to be one such. Because not everything can be pre-planned, not everything can be pre-assured. So, in this case, the design build model integrates responsibilities under a single contractor. The contractor designs the bridge and subject to employers' broad requirements which have been given. These are performance requirements, technical requirements, and other requirements, right? And then the same contractor is also responsible to build it. It is something like what we did the Kashmir Rail project in Jammu and Kashmir. This offers several advantages. You see, in design and construction, teams work together from the outset, enabling optimization of methods, sequencing, and material selection. Potential construction challenges are identified much earlier, and the delays are reduced, cost overruns are reduced. Accountability is also clear because a single entity is responsible for delivering the complete asset. And technically, the projects such as the long span river bridges, design build procurement generally offers better integration, greater innovation, and improved risk management than conventional contracting approaches.
Dr. Bana, you mentioned earlier that the Brahmaputra is one of the world's most challenging rivers. From an engineering perspective, what makes constructing a bridge across this river so difficult?
Deepika ji, the rivers like Brahmaputra always offer one of the most difficult challenges to the humankind, and this is no exception. Projects of this scale require capabilities that extend far beyond conventional highway or conventional highway bridge construction. The contractor in this case must possess expertise in deep marine and river foundations, long span bridge engineering, heavy lifting systems, specialized construction equipment, and advanced quality assurance procedures. Equally important is financial strength. Mega infrastructure projects involve substantial upfront investment before payments are released. Therefore, the contractors must have the financial capability, technical capability, and deep experience of having executed such projects over several years. And safety management, finally, is absolutely critical. Working over a major river like Brahmaputra with heavy equipment, changing water levels, and challenging weather demands world-class safety practices. Companies like Larsen and Toubro have developed these capabilities over decades of executing complex infrastructure both in India or outside. And that makes them well suited for such projects. By the way, did you know that Brahmaputra carries one of the world's highest sediment loads, making bridge foundation design exceptionally challenging?
Sir, that sounds extremely complex for me. Could you explain the importance of geotechnical investigations before constructions begin?
For a river bridge, the riverbed studies and geotechnical investigations are very important. And in fact, that appears to be the most fascinating aspect of this project. Unlike many rivers, Brahmaputra is exceptionally wide, carries enormous volumes of water during the monsoons, and transports one of the highest sediment loads in the world. Its channels are dynamic, and that means the river tends to shift its course over time. Engineers therefore have to design not only for today but also for how it may behave over the next 100 years. The velocity of the river during floods can be tremendous, generating powerful forces on bridge piers and foundations and causing deep scouring. The riverbed is also continuously changing because of erosion and sediment deposition. In simple terms, constructing a bridge like this is like building on a moving foundation. Every engineering decision, every little technical decision, from selecting the alignment to designing the foundations and superstructure, must account for these uncertainties. That's why such bridges demand extensive investigations, sophisticated modeling, and meticulous execution. You see, this bridge has been engineered as a combination of, I'm now telling you about the construction problem. So there are two viaducts on both sides, and there is a very long, about 12.5 kilometer long navigational channel to suit the wide braided Brahmaputra River. The main navigation portion is approximately 12.625 kilometers and consists of an extra dosed pre-stressed concrete girder bridge with a span arrangement of 62.5 meters on either side and spans of 125 meters, 100 spans. So you can see the extra dosed pre-stressed concrete girder bridge from one pier, it is 62.5 meters this side, 62.5 meters this side, and together one span will become between pier to pier about 125 meters, and there are 100 spans like that. 100. That makes it 12.5 kilometers. So it provides a continuous navigable waterway while minimizing the number of river piers in the active channel. The foundations on this reach are designed to resist scour depth, which is of severe kind. In this case, I think they have planned for 23 meters, and total well foundation depth is over 37 meters. The approach viaducts, now this was the channel in the navigation channel, 12.5 kilometers. On either side, you have Dhubri side, 59 spans of 60 meters, totaling to 3.5 kilometers, and Phulbari side are 36 spans of 60 meters again, totaling to 2.16 kilometers. And these viaducts are pre-stressed concrete box girder structures supported on large diameter board pile foundation. The Dhubri viaduct uses 491 board piles, while the Phulbari viaduct uses 315 board piles, each having a diameter of 1.8 meters, about 52 meters deep, you can imagine. And typical viaduct unit comprises 3 continuous 60 meter spans. This is the magnitude of the construction.
So, a project of this magnitude requires enormous financial resources. How is the Dhubri Phulbari Bridge being financed?
Deepika ji, this project has significant investment by a government of India with financial assistance from Japan International Cooperation Agency, commonly known as JICA, through its Official Development Assistance Program, ODA. So such international financing is particularly suitable for strategic infrastructure because it generally offers longer repayment periods and more favorable interest rates than commercial borrowing. This allows government to undertake projects whose economic benefits accrue over several decades, and it's a very heavy investment upfront. So equally important is the rigorous appraisal process with such funding, because such funding is rarely available, so it has to be best utilized. So international agencies typically examine technical feasibility, environmental sustainability, procurement practices, and project governance before extending financial support. Therefore, financing is not merely about arranging funds. It also promotes higher standards of project preparation, transparency, implementation, and overall execution. And that ultimately benefits both taxpayers and the infrastructure itself. And certainly India stands to benefit.
So, whenever taxpayers hear that several thousand crores are being invested in one bridge, that naturally ask whether it is worth the money. How would you answer that?
I would say again, I have said it before, that infrastructure should never be judged solely by its construction cost. Instead, we must evaluate the economic value it creates over its entire life, how it impacts the lives of people, how it impacts the future, how it impacts the immediate economic activity. Because all these things impact not only mid-term or long-term, but over hundreds of years. The impact will be felt. Consider savings in travel time, fuel consumption, and vehicle operating costs that will occur every single day. And add to that the reduction in logistics cost, improved market access for farmers, greater tourism, enhanced industrial activity, and higher employment. Moreover, you will see the people will flock to that area. It has all other natural resources and that necessary population, which will now be having much more certainty about their daily lives, about their businesses. So businesses are bound to enhance their pace of activity. So it is difficult to measure these financially and in direct, tangible terms. But over a period of time, we have seen that wherever good infrastructure has been built, the people's lives have improved and economy in general has gone much faster.
Dr. Bana, mega bridge projects always involve significant risks. What would you consider to be the most important construction risk associated with Dhubri Phulbari Bridge?
Deepika ji, that's a very important question because risk management is at the heart of every successful infrastructure project. The first and perhaps the greatest challenge is the river itself. Brahmaputra is one of the most dynamic rivers in the world. Its flow varies dramatically between the dry season and the monsoon, and it carries an enormous amount of sediments, and that directly impacts the foundation construction. Then there are geotechnical risks. Since the bridge foundations rest on deep alluvial deposits rather than rocks, engineers must ensure that every pile is installed precisely as designed because these are going to be friction piles. Thirdly, weather poses a major risk. Heavy rainfall, flooding, and strong river currents can interrupt construction and affect productivity. Then there are also logistical challenges in transporting heavy equipment, construction material, and fabricated bridge components to remote river locations. And then, without worker safety, nothing, no challenge is complete. Thousands of construction activities are taking place at one time, over water, on ground, or in transit. So, effective planning, supervision, and strict adherence to safety protocols becomes absolutely essential.
So, every major infrastructure project teaches valuable lessons. Looking back, what do you think are the most important lessons future bridge projects in India can can be learned from the Dhubri Phulbari experience?
There are several lessons here also. Now, see, uh, the most important lesson which as a civil engineer I always keep up with me is never underestimate the value of thorough investigations. The better you investigate, the better you will be able to plan and there will be lesser problems during construction. So every rupee invested in detailed surveys, geotech investigations and hydrological studies can save many times that amount during construction. Then there is the procurement strategy. In this case, design build approach has proved very productive, very efficient, and it has reduced many traditional interface problems. And then I'd say that risk allocation has to be realistic, because risks have to be assigned to the party which is best equipped to manage them, rather than simply transferred through contractual clauses. And technology, as we see, the technology evolving every day, so it is indispensable today. And digital engineering, drone surveys, building information modeling, and advanced monitoring systems significantly improve the project constructions and let us estimate the delays which are likely to create problem subsequently and be prepared for it. In fact, I would say that infrastructure should always be viewed as a long-term national investment rather than merely a construction project. A real success of a bridge is measured not by its length or cost, but by how effectively it improves people's lives and stimulates economic development.
Very rightly said. Now, coming on our last question, Dr. Bana, would you realistically expect this bridge to be completed? And how do you think people will look back at this project 10 years after it has become operational?
See, as it is being reported today, it's likely to be completed by 2028, that is another 2 years from now. Although, as with any other major river project, and that more so with the river Brahmaputra, the progress will depend on seasonal conditions and the construction milestones and the challenges which may be thrown out by the nature and by other project imperatives which the site conditions will decide. See, after the ribbon is cut, few years after that, people are going to forget what challenges were there during construction. Instead, they will remember how the bridge transformed their everyday life. Farmers will take it for granted that they can reach the markets now. Students will travel to their schools regularly, and patients will access hospitals more quickly. Businesses will keep on expanding, and new townships will come out. Economists will often describe such transport infrastructure as enabler, because it creates opportunities that extend far beyond transportation itself. It is adding the value for future. In my view, Dhubri Phulbari Bridge will eventually be remembered not simply as one of India's longest bridges, but as one of the most transformative infrastructure investment in the northeastern India. It's a bridge that will connect not only two river banks, but also aspirations, opportunities, and generations.
Thank you, Dr. Bana, for taking us through this fascinating journey from planning and procurement to engineering, financing, risk management, and the broader economic significance of the Dhubri Phulbari Bridge. What stands out from today's discussion is that great infrastructure is never just about concrete, steel, and engineering calculations. It is about creating opportunities, strengthening communities, reducing regional disparities, and building confidence in the future. Thank you for sharing your valuable insight with us, sir. Namaste.
Namaste.